listening to Lone Star Community Radio. This program was broadcasted and recorded live from the LSCR studios in downtown Conroe, Texas. Lone Star Community Radio is supported by listeners like you. Donate and sponsor today. For more information on getting involved with Lone Star Community Radio, contact us at lscrstudios@gmail.com or visit us online at www.irlonestar.com.
You are listening to Lone Star Community Radio on 104.5 KCZWLP Conroe and 106.1 KZCCLP Conroe and worldwide on irlonestar.com.
Good afternoon, everybody. You're listening to the Cindy Cochran Show, and we're so happy that you're here. We've had, this is our third week on, so I'm just a baby to this. No, I used to do a show on, it was called, still Lone Star Radio, Lone Star Community Radio, but before that, it was even way more FM, and I did a show there. So I've been doing this for a while, and you think I'd get everything straight, but that's not how it's going to be. But listen, I have got a great guest today. It's Jimmy Cirillo. Jimmy the C is who we say, because he does, he talks sports, he loves sports, and this is the first time I've seen Jimmy in years, it seems like, and so I'm really excited. He used to do the show whenever we were with the other studio, and it was so much fun. And I think sports was so much more fun at that time. But what's happening with the Astros and all of that is exciting. And so we're going to talk about that. But we're going to do some reminiscing. Yeah. Thank you. Jimmy's going to help me out. But we're going to be doing that as well. And I just wanted to tell everybody that it's exciting to talk about sports for Houston, because Houston has had great times and they've had the worst times. They've been made fun of. They've been respected. And so it's been up and down, up and down. But Jimmy was somebody who just always loved sports. But the first time I ever laid eyes on Jimmy, I looked out the window because I was hearing this strange sound. It was like a siren or something. And I looked out the window, and they had just moved into our neighborhood. And so I look out, and there's this little boy with a diaper on that is holding a bottle and just screaming at the top of his lungs on his tiptoes. And he's saying, "No, okay, you still do that. No, you were just somebody that was so, I don't know where that came from, but I didn't know whether I could go out there and just slap you, that maybe you were hysterical or something like that, or what would happen. But later on, I realized it was okay to slap you. But
yeah, thanks, Mom.
Yes, that's right. But they have grown to be like my second children. Him and his brother Joey and his sister Demita wasn't as much. You guys were mostly around, doing stuff with us. But I want to introduce you to my very good friend, dear friend, second son, Jimmy the C. Cirillo. And the reason I said Jimmy the C, Jimmy, is because a lot of people don't know how to pronounce that name. And you're always having to spell it and explain what it is.
Plus, it sounds like an Italian mod name. Jimmy the C, huh?
Yeah, you're right. Well, you are Italian, so it's okay. Yeah, that's what I think. But it sounds like somebody that's going to tell you how to bet. Call Jimmy the C, and he'll put you down for $40 on this.
One of those, 976 lines. Remember those things back in the 80s or 90s? You'd call, and everything was a 976 line. It cost you like 50 cents a minute.
Oh, that's right.
And I remember if you were alone, you could call somebody. Whatever it was, there was a 976 number for that. That was the big thing back then.
Y'all weren't calling that number, were you?
Well, I'm still alive, so obviously I didn't make any of those phone calls.
Okay. All right. Well, good. Yeah, because, you'd been in trouble. But I was like the neighborhood mom Uber, and I would take all the kids in the neighborhood. We lived in a cul-de-sac, which was perfect.
Yes.
And there were they had so many friends, and I would take them wherever they wanted to go. It was just like, let's go to the show, let's go to the zoo, let's go to, and I was given all permission to beat them if they acted up or they gave me any problems.
It's true.
And it was great. I love that. And my kids would watch me get after y'all, and they go, yeah, don't get her mad. Just don't get her mad. And that's what Samuel and Cindy don't realize, how great they have it, because I just do anything for them.
Well,
I
your
am
grandma,
the
that's spoiled
grandma.
time.
Yeah,
We
it
were-
is totally. Y'all were the worst. No, y'all weren't the worst. You were very good, but y'all had so much fun in that cul-de-sac. Y'all played games, and you don't see that much anymore.
No.
Kids out playing or throwing the football or throwing the baseball,
that.
and but y'all played wiffle ball.
Yes.
Now, is it wiffle ball
Now,
or wiffle?
The I don't know if it's wiffle or wiffle, but our term for it was plastic ball.
Plastic ball.
Because the
okay.
ball's made of plastic, we just didn't call it wiffle ball. We
With
called
holes
it
in it, yes.
Yeah, we would call it plastic ball. That, I think your sons started calling it plastic ball, and we just kind of just would call it plastic ball.
But y'all played out from morning till
Oh, yeah.
night, and the parents would have to come out and beat y'all to get in the house. It's time to eat and all that stuff. But it was
Never
great.
Stayed outside, 100 degrees, didn't care.
No.
Went to the water hose to drink out of it. You know, nowadays, if you told a kid, hey, go take a drink out of the hose, they would just lose their mind. Hey, out of the garden hose? Like, yeah. You got to let it run for about a minute, let all the hot water and the mess run out of it, and then you drink.
And that's the best water you ever had.
Oh,
It's so good. Yes.
true.
No, that is true. And then y'all grew up a little bit. And because I was doing the Channel 13 News, and then when I worked for Time Warner, and y'all got a lot of privileges and things that you got to do.
Yes.
And so I'm going to take all credit for your love of sports. Because
my old man's
they-
rolling over wherever he is now on that one. 'Cause
because who else would have gotten y'all into a Astros commercial?
you.
And you and Chad got to put on the Astros uniform, go to their locker room, and be all everything. You know,
Got to
y'all
meet
got
Larry
to.
Durker and Calvin Murphy, and we got to meet the equipment manager for the Astros, and we actually got to wear genuine Astros actual uniforms.
I couldn't believe they let us do that.
I know, that was so cool. And I remember shaking Larry Durker's hand, and I couldn't see my hand anymore. The man's hands are gigantic, and I was like, where's my hand at? And I was like, holy gosh, please don't squeeze it. Please don't squeeze
But y'all
it.
pulled it off. People thought y'all were Astros out there in the field, and they were hitting balls trying to hit them into the. How long we had to stand there and keep shooting for somebody to hit the ball far enough, but it was so much fun. And then whenever the parade came and the Rockets won the championship, I took y'all to the parade downtown.
Yep, in 94.
And that was amazing. You got a picture of that with you and Chad in your shirts. I mean, every time they got close or anybody got close, it was from Houston. Y'all were right there. Y'all were such good supporters of them. Chad would not let me come into the room.
We had such superstitions.
So superstitious. Like if the Astros are playing or the Rockets are playing,
Yep.
you can't come into the room because we're ahead right now, and you'll just jinx it. And I think Sam has a touch of that. He goes, wait a minute, don't come over yet. It's almost through.
It's almost done. Don't come in and jinx it.
Yeah, don't jinx it.
I mean,
And he thinks he's jinxing it every time. He said the Astros lost the last two games.
Yeah.
And so he said, I think I'm jinxing it, because he finally got Chad to help him set it up to where he's going to get the signal so that he can watch the games because of the way they had it. You have to have AT&T to be able to watch
you gotta have like the AT&T
the other games. But
Sports
now
and
it's
that or whatever.
I don't know, but it ruined him, and he's been so depressed, and he walks around going, I don't know everything to do, and because he loves the Astros. But I was so happy that I was able to get you guys in, and y'all got to do things. But the best story is when because Jimmy had become so obsessed with the Rockets. He was the biggest fan of the Rockets. He loved the Rockets so much. And for being Time Warner, we had to go out and shoot parts of the game because we had to make a spot about the game. Pay-per-view.
We were
for
shooting
pay-per-view.
footage for the pay-per-view back when they used to actually put the Rockets' first couple rounds of the playoffs on pay-per-view. Now, it's just on regular TV.
Right. Right. You can't hide it from anybody.
No.
But and they haven't gotten that far as they used to get. But anyway, but that was such a big deal to him, and I thought, if you get into a position where you got some say about something, you want to use it for your friends and your loved ones. So I thought, we're getting ready to go shoot the Rockets. I don't know whether they're playoffs or whatever they were in. It was a big deal.
They were. It was just a regular season game.
It was just a regular season game.
They were playing the Miami Heat.
Right. And so anyway, I said, I want to bring two grips with us. They said, you need 2 grips? I went, yeah, with Eric. Eric was shooting. I remember. And so they said, well, okay, we'll have to get passes for it, passes for him and stuff. And I said, okay, that's fine. But they got to be there. So we sat on the floor underneath the basket, and with all the AP, every sports outlet there was, and all the big newspapers and all that. And here we were, Warner Cable, and we're thinking, and we're acting like we're somebody, but they did have this set out for where Warner could sit right here, and you got to sit in front of all these other paper, and they're like, who do they think they are? But I told Jimmy, I'm going to take you to the game, and you're going to be a grip, and you're going to get to see the game. But I don't think you thought you were going to see it that close.
Yeah, that was close. And I remember you also let us use the camera, and I might have the price wrong, but I think you told me, whenever you don't drop that camera, thing's like $50,000 or something.
Yes,
like
I said,
that.
You got to act like the grip, so you pick up the camera and shoot some stuff and install that Ikigami camera. And so I remember that I told Jimmy, you're going to get to go and do this, and you're going to be a grip, and you're going to have to be professional, and you can't be clapping, because I said, don't react.
Don't worry, they got slaughtered that game. I had no reason to clap.
But we did. We were sitting there, and all of a sudden, here comes, who was the player that jumped over us?
Walt Williams. He played for the Rockets, I think, before, and then got traded over there, or vice versa. But I remember he was going for a ball that was flying out of bounds, and he just flew over us. And I'm just like, you remember, what was that movie, Free Willy? And the whale jumps over. He's like, that's what it's like. He just flew like slow motion, like flying over. It's like, oh my God. And then
you weren't with us. I think it was like the next game or something that we had to go to, and Hakeem Olajuwon was running down the court, coming this way, and I'm asking Eric, "You're getting this, right? You're getting this?" Because he's coming right down the court, so we've got a great shot of him. But he kept coming, and he couldn't stop. And he got up there, and he jumped over. I was sitting in the front, and he jumped over me, and I looked up, and I could see the bottom of his shoe going over my head. And I said, oh, my, he must wear a size 25 because it was huge. And so it was exciting, though. It was like you really didn't know what was going to happen next. I don't know why they let the people sit right there. That was extremely dangerous.
I mean, like, the people that sit courtside, I mean, they're flying to them all the time and knocking their beers out of their hand and their food.
That's true.
But then you have a good story that tells, like, man, Michael Jordan fell on me and spilled my beer. I mean, who can say that all the time?
That's right. That's exactly right. Well, it was exciting. But I wish I'd had more of a love for the sport to even care what they were doing. I was just trying to get the shots, and that's all I cared about.
I know what avid sports fan that you are.
Well, I know. I tell Sam, like, I really don't want to see except the highlights. So tell me when it's over and they're playing the show at the end, and they do the highlights. And I said, I'll watch that. But to me, what was so much fun was that game that we had, Chad was there, is that I went to the back to the locker room. And at that time, they had just maybe let one woman in New York somewhere into the locker room to interview the guys, and it was just barely happening. But it still made all the players mad. They didn't want a woman in there. They didn't want a woman, especially a woman,
invading their space.
Yeah, and putting a microphone in front of their face. So they thought it'd be really funny to drop the towels and just walk out of the showers and go like, oh, good morning. Hello, how are you?
How's it hanging?
Yeah.
All right.
So it was like this was a big deal for a woman to go in there and do that. So I interviewed one tall guy. I don't know who he was. I kept trying to have eye
You interviewed a
contact
tall
with
guy
him.
that plays in the NBA?
He was tall. He was tall, and I was pretty short. But I kept looking up and trying to just keep my eyes on him because I didn't know what the towel was doing. and then I interviewed Kenny Smith, and he had his legs all in ice, and so it was so fun. It was fun for that part of it, but it was horrible in that locker room. It was just chaotic, and they wanted to make it as horrible as it could be for you to do that. And then I went to a game, and I was looking for I was looking for one of the reporters for Channel 13, and they said she's she's where the reporters go, and she told them where this box is. So I went, and I started to go into the room, and the guy said, "Oh, you can't go in there. No women allowed in there." And I went, "Are you kidding me?" And they said, "No women allowed? Really? Okay, watch me." So I went ahead in. They go like, "Well, I'm going to have to tell somebody." And so Lowell Thomas comes up there and says, "I'm sorry, young lady, but you can't be up here." And I said, "Well, since you call me young lady, that's all I needed to know. But are you really, they don't allow women up here?" He says, no, ma'am, because the way the guys talk up here and all that stuff, we're not having any women up here. But so I'd appreciate it if you just leave. So I left, and Elma Barrera tried to get in, and she
That's
couldn't.
a blast from the past name.
And she couldn't get in. And so I told her later, I said, "I got in." And she said, "Oh, you did not?" I said, "No, I just walked in." And then they threw me out, but I did walk
I
in.
got in. They got thrown out.
And she said, "Well, we have, the women reporters have to wait, outside." I'm sorry. She said, "I'm sorry. I wish I'd gone with you. That would have been fun." Because she was such a, like, women are gonna do this. And she was the one who, when I was interpreting, and hurricane was coming, and so I had to go down there and interpret for her, and she was doing the news, and so I'm interpreting that, and so she thought it'd be really funny because she didn't think I knew Spanish sign language, and so she starts speaking in Spanish. She said, "Now for our Spanish-speaking viewers," and she starts the hurricane thing. So I just keep saying that Elma's now doing this in Spanish and thinks I don't know anything about it, and so I'm going to just keep signing, and and we'll show her. But anyway, those were just interesting times, and a lot of stuff has changed, of course, now.
Yeah,
but
yes.
imagine, that was the time and that transition, and it was, and I wasn't somebody's going to go sue somebody because they wouldn't let me in or anything. But I just thought it was funny. It was just like, it was a different time. But anyway, you guys got to do all of that, and you told me the story about you and Chad going into the locker room.
Oh, you're talking about when we did the commercial at the Astrodome?
And what happened in the locker room?
Oh, no, it was the dugout.
The dugout.
And so there's this is an Astrodome, and there's this long tunnel, and about probably 6-7 steps into that tunnel, there's this toilet, and it's kind of elevated, and like a step or two you go up to where this toilet is, and I guess it's for players to use it during the game, so they don't have to go very far away,
right?
So I told Chad, I said, "Chad, can you believe it? Nolan Ryan sat there and did a number 2 one time." and he just started laughing, and we just started naming all the players that probably sat there and sat on their throne.
That's you'd think that they would have a nice restroom or a nice bathroom there for them.
They probably got better toilets at the Harris County Jail that these guys were sitting on. Man,
that's
that
sad.
Was that thing. Ugh.
So the Astros have come a long way, haven't they?
They have come a really long way since the last time I was on your show. And I'm glad to be back for the triumphant return for the Cindy Cochran show.
Yes.
This was 7 years ago, 2015. So back then, the Astros were just finally coming up because they had been through that long period after Drake McClain had sold them and he gutted the team, and poor Altuve was there suffering while they were just losing over 100 games a year. So 2015 was the first time I believe they made it back to the playoffs. They played the Royals. The Rockets were a perennial contender for the title every year, and the Texans were actually getting to the playoffs. Speed it up 7 years later, the Rockets are rebuilding, the Texans are terrible, and the Astros now, the expectation is It's not like for us, like, oh, I want them to get to the playoffs. I pray they get to the playoffs. I'm going to get to the playoffs. Now we have like New York Yankee fan expectations, like, yeah, they got to get to the World Series because now they get to the World Series almost fairly often, and they're right there every year to get there.
Well, I just hope they're not going through a time where they feel like we got this, and lay back, because I've felt they'd done stuff like that whenever they're really doing well, and you're going like, why are they not as enthusiastic as they were yesterday? And Sam goes, because they just played 7 games in a row. They, what do you
Exactly.
expect? They're tired.
And you can't win 162 games. So I mean, they're going to go through parts of the season where they lose, or they'll go through a little losing period. It's just as long as they hit their stride at the right time, right? The end of September going into October, that's when you want them to be playing their best.
But they're still number 1 in the.
They still have the best record in the American League. I think the
American
Dodgers overall have the best record in baseball. In the American League, the Astros have the best record right now.
Well, what about Trey Mancini? Are you kidding me?
This guy.
Oh, an Italian.
I know. I mean, the last time an Italian had an appearance like that, Ken Caminetti, I want to say his first at bat when they brung him up, he hit a triple, and then I think his second at bat he hit like a home run, and my dad was just so excited. And I was like, why is he so excited? Because, we got this young third baseman that came up, and he's really good. And my dad's like, no, do you see this guy? He just hit a home run, and he hit a triple in his first 2 at bats. And look at that last name, he's Italian. And I'm like, oh, okay, hey, that's what it is. So if my dad was alive today, he would probably be referring to this guy's Boom Boom Mancini after the boxer from the early 80s, Ray Boom Boom Mancini.
Well, that's what it was. We'll see. I think of Henry Mancini, but I think that it was so exciting that he did this, and so everybody's going like, okay, we got this. Is great. This is wonderful. And I just wondered if at the Rockets maybe, wondering if he plays baseball too, because does he pitch? What else does he do? Like.
He plays first base, and he plays in the outfield. He's sort of kind of like a utility player, but mainly like he plays first base.
But he can do. He has talents for. They haven't explored all of his talents, right?
Not as far as I know. No.
No, and I think there's a lot of women out there that are ready. This guy is so cute, and he's going to be. He won't be Altuve, but he'll be.
I don't know what his dating status is, so I don't know if he's available, ladies, but I can't personally speak for him.
We'll find that out because he is really cute. But I think that it's been funny because he is really, there's so much press about him right now.
Yeah.
And I hope he doesn't get overwhelmed by all that and makes him like mess up or anything like that, because I think he's going to do great things. But what do I know? He just looks good in the uniform, and that's all I can tell you. Because I know nothing about.
I know, just like you used to tell him about JJ. Oh, JJ, I love JJ. JJ's so cute. He's so sweet, and da 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 da. And I'm like,
well, he did such wonderful, magnanimous type of things that was just.
Oh no, yes he did, but I don't think you knew. You're just like, he's just so cute, and I'm like.
No,
he does other things too. You know that, right? He's pretty good at that football game.
Yeah, I was just so bored. Football is boring to me. Unless you have a relative or loved one playing on that team, I don't get being able to be so obsessed with it. Now, you have to invest like you do. You have invested so much time studying and know so much about them, their personalities and all that, and you can name their names. I think then maybe, the more you've done that, maybe you'll be more excited about the game. But it's like NASCAR. Now, Phyllis Ledbetter, who we've had on the show, and we didn't get to talk about her obsession with NASCAR.
Yeah.
But you know how Phyllis is, and she walks into a place, she's going to own that place before she leaves it. She's going to know everybody, their names, and so can I ride around the track with you? Is that okay? No problem.
Yeah.
And so if you invest that much time and I can understand you're being excited about it, but I haven't done that. I haven't gotten to that point yet. And I love sports. I've played everything, all the different sports except soccer. I never understood soccer.
Yeah, just kicking the ball and chasing it around. Man, but you know, it's the most popular sport in the world.
Well, that's what, and all these teams that we have now, like the Texans don't start until when? When does their season start?
In September.
September. Okay.
There may start the end of this month. Either late August or September.
Yeah.
But it's about to start soon.
So they will be. I don't know how. Well, they're always playing inside where there's air conditioning, right? It's not.
Yeah,
they
we paid all this money for this what we call a convertible top stadium. They never open the thing to play games. It's like, and you know, there's months in November the weather's amazing. It's like 70 degrees and the humidity's low. Nope. Only time they open that thing is to sun the grass. And I'm like, and now they don't even have real grass in there. It's that stuff called next turf. They don't even play on grass anymore.
Right.
So that was a big selling point. Oh, it's gonna be indoor with it. You can open the roof and it's grass, and you know you can have the pleasure both inside and outside. They never open that roof.
Are you two? You're old enough to remember the Astrodome and going to the Astrodome, right?
Oh, of course.
And remember, I mean, because we've been there. You were older when we went there. But do you remember the cowboy that shot
on the big scoreboard?
Yeah.
At one point, that was the largest scoreboard in the world.
Right. My cousin Ed Henderson was the one who made him. He's the one that developed that character and did the animation for it. That's what he was doing.
Wow.
He did animation for Disney on Snow White, the witch. He drew the witch.
That is pretty
Yeah,
cool.
it's very, very cool. And we always thought of him being such a celebrity, and he was. He did so many great things. And they did a lot of the animation for the Astrodome at that point. And they tried to explain it to us. I mean, we'd have reunions and stuff, and he and his brother would talk about, man, we're doing this animation on this big screen, and it's gonna. And we're like, what? You're doing what? And we couldn't understand what the Astrodome and all that complex was going to be.
Yeah.
And so when there was a competition. I guess people were supposed to name the team. They were trying to come up with a name of the team, and they called them the Astronauts, and that didn't go over. And then finally, they called them the Astros. And I remember when I was with Channel 13, we played on a team, and they named it the Half
Astros.
The Half Astros. That's what they named it. And I went, you guys, that's a horrible name. And they thought that was so funny. But we played charity things, and it was amazing. But that complex who lived for so long there, and all that was, I guess, came from there. And it was so sad that it's going away, and now they have the NGO? NRG.
Whatever they call it this month. It was Reliant before, and then I can't keep up.
Yeah, that's not a very good name.
Yeah, and the Astrodome, depending on who you talk to, is a point of controversy because some people believe it tearing it down because we're paying still for it to sit there, and then now they can't tear it down because it's been deemed a historical site, which. To me, it should, but they need to repurpose it to something, because it's a landmark. It was the first of its kind, first indoor stadium. Because Lord, if you live in Houston, it's 1,000 degrees outside, and then at that time, that side of town used to be just swampy, and those mosquitoes were as big as helicopters over there. They were carrying people off from the Colt 45 games, so they had to build something indoors.
The Colt 45s, but I remember the Six Flags was
Astroworld.
Astroworld was across the street from it, and so there was traffic like all the time over there.
Can you imagine
it really
how it
built that whole area up so much, but the sports. I think when it was the Colt 45s. Sam said there was so much interest and so many people would go to those games and sit in the bleachers and watch, the Colt 45s play. And it was, people understood what sports were at that time. And then the first time he went into that Astrodome and had to sit and pay whatever it was for a drink or anything. And he said, this just isn't, you need to be suffering along with the players, I think, to enjoy it. But it has come a long, long way.
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you a quick story. Speaking of, since we're talking about the Astrodome and way back things, So when they were doing the groundbreaking for the Astrodome, and we have sort of connection because we know somebody that was actually there. So when they did the groundbreaking, it was Judge Hoffines or Mayor Hoffines, whatever.
Hoffines, yeah.
And one of the other people that was there was Squatty Lyons. And when they broke ground, they had some soil there, and they had Colt 45s, and they all shot it into the dirt. And that's when they broke the ground for the Astrodome to start building it.
Oh, because remember Foley's? Foley's had the home plate there.
Was it Foley? No, it's the Fingers Warehouse.
Fingers,
and
Fingers
they had the
Warehouse.
home plate from Old Buff Stadium.
Yeah.
It was still they tore down the stadium and built the Fingers Warehouse around it and just left home plate in there.
I think that was really cool.
That
that
was
was
really
cool
neat.
that they did that. I love that. But that was and Squatty Lyons, whose son lived across the street from us.
Yeah.
And it was so funny. I never understood any of that stuff. Like, I didn't know who he was or anything like that.
He was a big deal. I mean,
He
there's
was
parks
a
in
big
Humble
deal.
named after Squatty Lyons and
Yes.
everything else. I was like, I just thought he was Jimmy Gregg's grandpa.
Yeah,
That's all he was.
And he got mad because Christy told their daughter,
Kelly.
that there was no Santa Claus.
It's not true, ladies and gentlemen. There is. I promise you, there is.
And it was written up in the newspaper, and it said that he was upset that why would she tell her that? And I tried to explain to them, to the family. I said, I'm so sorry that my mom would not let us believe in Santa Claus because she wasn't going to let some guy
Take credit for all her hard work and
That's
spending
right.
money.
That's right. So you could go sit on the lap and they give you sucker and all that, but you're not going to believe in this person.
I can tell you when I found out that there was a Santa Claus, but he doesn't come around the way you think he does. And you'll remember this place. So me and Mom, it was in the evening. It was in December, and she had to run to the store. And this is back when Rice was at its original location. Before they moved to one across the street. And we were sitting in the parking lot, and a guy came on the radio, and he said that there was no such thing as Santa Claus. And I looked at my mom and started, is that true? I kept asking and asking and asking. And she finally just broke down and told me. I don't know if it was to shut me up or whatever, but she told me. And then I want to say when Christmas came around, I forgot all about it. And there was still stuff under the tree from Santa Claus.
Whoever it was, I'll believe in them. Whoever brought me this toy, I'll believe in them.
Yeah, and poor Mom, God love her. She was having to be creative about hiding things in the house because, she'd buy presents, and she kept, trying to find, where can I hide it now? Because these little jokers look through everything.
Well, all of that was so much fun, and it was a great time. And I think that I'm glad that we lived through it and that y'all lived next to us and all the neighbors that were there. But I think that the going back to the original wiffle ball.
Yes. No.
Plastic ball. And watching you guys yell at each other, scream at each other, and get so mad at each other, and the not having an umpire out there.
Yeah,
so y'all had
on your honor.
Yeah, and there was no honor among those thieves. And so I remember that it would take like 2 seconds and come out with some, you want some ice cream? Yeah, and everybody leave, and everybody's friends again. So it was great. And I think all those things, all those times helped build y'all.
And we would keep stats. Well, Chad kept stats. So because it was okay, it was always the same teams because I was the oldest. And at one point I was bigger than everybody, and now all the kids, your son and Michael, Mark, and everybody grew a foot taller than me and Joey. But since I was the oldest, so it was me and Chad and little Brian versus Joey, Mark, and Michael. And it was always the same teams. And I remember Mark or Michael, they would get mad about something. They'd sit on the curb and pout across the street. And Joey would get so mad. Get up, get off your bleep, and get up. Ball would hit over his head, and they just sit there, just be just so upset. And they'd finally get up, and then it was just so crazy. And then we'd be now. Issa would be taking a nap in the afternoon, and Charlie would come outside. You don't need to be quiet. My dad's trying to sleep. I'm like, he doesn't own the block. It's not his. And so it was just.
I wouldn't want Issa coming after me though, but it was a great neighborhood and a great time. And if you, as a listener, if y'all live in a good neighborhood, cherish that. Just cherish all the memories and things that happened there.
Yeah, I mean, we were in our own little world on that cul-de-sac, and you had. that cul-de-sac was a true melting pot. Even for way back then.
That's right. We had a lot of Middle Eastern influence.
Hispanics, blacks. I mean, we had a little bit of
everything.
Everybody on our block.
And I remember that because of such a heavy family of people from, where were they from?
They're Palestinian, like from, I think, is it Ramallah or something like that.
I remember they'd have the grandmother would wear all black, and she'd walk, and it would scare the kids. They were so scared of her. But it taught them. It taught them, and the prayers that they would have to, and that sound that they would make, and it was real teachable moments. And these people lived next door to us. We're fine. You're fine with this, and nobody was talked about. I mean,
we didn't care.
Yeah, we didn't really care. It's just like, can we play wiffle ball
or whatever it
basketball?
is. Now, if you left anything outside, especially basketball, the Bobbas would find it and they'd write their name all over it, and it became theirs. It's Bobba Ball now. It's like, wait a minute, it was in my front yard. No, we wrote our name on it. It's ours now. I was like, how does that work? And they were driving pretty nice cars. And one time I thought, AB's got a really nice Camaro. If I write Jimmy on it, is it mine now?
That's great. Well, I think that I love all of this stuff, and I did promise everybody we talk sports. So, the Astros play tonight at 7:10. And
the White Sox again.
The White Sox. They're playing the White Sox. Now, the White Sox, was it the White Sox that has the history, that the Field's a Dream?
The White Sox were the ones that had the big scandal with Shoeless Joe Jackson and
Shoeless
all
Joe
them
Jackson,
that they were taking bribes to throw the World Series.
And they overcame that, and everybody still goes out and is excited about them playing. But
I'm not excited about them playing.
Okay. Well, are we going to beat them? Well,
we should be beating them.
We've lost 2 games to them.
Yes, I'm not. Now I haven't looked tonight to see who's pitching, but the Astros need to beat them. Plus, we owe Chicago so many beatings because the first time the Astros ever got to the World Series, they played the White Sox, and the White Sox swept us out. And that was back when Roger Clemens and Bagwell and Biggio were.
Oh wow!
Back in those days, yeah. In 05, I think it was.
Man, how old are you, Jimmy?
Oh, God. I'll be 50 in March.
50. Oh,
and you've known me since I was 2.
Yes, that's right. Oh, okay. Because I was trying to think who you would remember in all of the players.
Oh, I can remember way back.
Well, so. I mean, you guys, y'all study it, and you had cards. What happened to baseball cards?
They turned into Pokemon cards, I think. I mean, they still collect them now, I think. But
that's true.
Joey has a nice collection of cards because there used to be a card shop in the neighborhood, and him and Chad, we'd all ride little bicycles up there.
Right.
Anytime Joey, because Joey was a little entrepreneur. Joey, he had his little wagon, his little lawnmower, and he'd make money, and he'd go up and buy sets of basketball cards. And I know he's got some sets of basketball cards that's got some Michael Jordan rookies, and I think he's got 3 or 4 Michael Jordan rookie cards, which.
That has to be some bucks.
He has some Barry Bonds rookie cards. I think he has some Roger Clemens rookie cards.
Really?
In his collections. Oh, yes.
Oh, my word. That's good. Yeah, he is an entrepreneur. Yes, he is. That's true. But I remember going and I shot commercials for card shops and thought they'd be there forever, but they didn't, and I don't see any interest. And Samuel asked me, what's this card doing? What? And I said, these used to be really important cards. And he goes, because he doesn't care about baseball.
Yeah, and these cards don't function. They don't make noises. You can't. It's not a video game. It's
it has nothing.
You kept it, and you would trade them with your friends.
Right.
And, hey, I need a Nolan Ryan, and I'll give you a Sandy Koufax for it or something. Or if it was one of those players that weren't so good, you would put it in the spokes of your bicycle and you'd ride your bike and it'd make that little noise.
Yeah. And now you buy his steaks and meat and stuff. Nolan Ryan.
Oh, yeah, Nolan Ryan. Yeah.
Yes. He's done about everything. But I think that Mattress Mac has got this incredible deal that if let's see.
What's it this time? Because it's always some kind of a gamble bet.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I don't know how this guy does it. And I was just wondering, if the Astros win it all and you bought $6,000 worth of furniture.
It's
you
free.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Well, you know what he does? He goes to Louisiana and Vegas, and he makes bets to cover in case he loses.
Right.
And because the bets are so high, at first, I remember him telling a story that he would have to go to multiple places to place these bets because they're so high and they can only take so much in as a bet.
Right, covered.
So there was one, I don't know if it's like a gas station or something, Louisiana. It finally got to the point they could take these giant, $4 or $5 million bets he was making, but he would be driving down I-10. He'll talk about it with this cash in his car, going to go make these bets. I was can you imagine right now? Got a suitcase with $10 million in it, just like, I'm going to go to some gas station in Louisiana and make a bet.
Can you imagine the people taking down his license plate number and saying, "Look, if you see this license plate, stop the car and rob him"?
Yeah, there's a rolling lottery ticket going down the road.
Yeah, right. That's right. Because that was like the biggest deal when he came on the scene, and then he became such a fan. I mean,
we can tie him into sports, even though
sure
it's now considered sports entertainment. Because where did we first see him? On Houston Wrestling with Paul Bosch.
That's right. That amazed me that you can remember the back, because he went from there and then he started doing those obnoxious commercials.
And that's where he got started on Houston Wrestling because Paul Bosch was legendary because they say he was one of the most fair wrestling promoters that there ever was. And, Jim Mack obviously didn't have much, and he went on there and just spent the last few nickels he had to do this. And he had, I want to say it was like a couple bucks, and the rest was like green paper or something. And he got on there, save you money, was jumping up and down, and and he was saying the address. We all know the address where his place is,
right?
And at that time, remember, he was just like a tent, with a couple sofas and some mattresses, and that guy's an American dream.
He came on to cable because that was going to be the cheapest place he could advertise, and he spent $3 million. He made $30 million from that advertising, and what it brought in was $30 million. And so from that point on, and all of the sales reps hated him.
Yeah,
because he negotiated them down so far that he would not the sales reps were hardly made any money at all. But it was just it was so funny to watch whenever they said, "Okay, you're going to have to go to Mac is seeing people today." And he would tell them when they could come in, you don't call me, I'll call you. And y'all come in and he had them all lined up from all the different places, from 13-2 and 39. And then the cable was just beginning, but cable had the cheapest prices. So they got really hit hard. And then we saw them we saw those commercials over and over again. You're like, I'm so sick of those commercials. Sick of them. It was so obnoxious. And now, bless his heart, for him he just aged, but he did not. That enthusiasm is still there.
He is, and if you walk into his store, if he's not out of town, if he's not doing something, he is up
on
front,
the floor. Yeah,
and he will be on that phone doing in-store advertisement over the PA.
Right,
and is nutty. But you're talking about cable. I remember you used to take us. This is back when Mike Tyson, all his fights were on pay-per-view.
Right.
So you would take us up to Warner on Tidwell so we could watch the pay-per-views for free. And we'd sit there, we'd watch them and everything. And I'm going to out you on radio. Speaking of cable, and you did all the commercials, you know what I'm about to talk about, don't you?
Oh, no. Don't you talk about that. No, because Richard will never let me forget it if you talk about that.
I'm going to paddle. So this is back when they used to have adult entertainment on Warner, and they would advertise, and Cindy would do the voiceovers for this, and it would come on the commercials would come on. It's like, there's a hot, sizzly night of action on your Time Warner channel 957, and I would say, Mom, that's Cindy. Mom, but that's not Cindy talking about that. I said, Mom, that's Cindy. My mom listened like, that's Cindy who takes y'all to church and stuff. That's her. I go, Mom, it's Cindy. She goes,
I did not know they were showing everything. I thought it was. They said, "Oh, it's just going to be like adult games," and because I asked
No, it was full blown.
Yeah, well,
that.
Let me. And how I found out was I was walking through the control room.
Look at his face.
Now he's interested. He hadn't listened to one thing we said.
I looked over there. He had the grin on his face, like, "Yeah, you're going to get it." And you got to do one time. Just do a quick little.
No, I'm not.
Do it.
No.
Turn on that smoky, sultry voice and do just one.
Well, if you want to watch, no, I'm not gonna.
I want to know, Cindy, was it something that you were offered, or was it part of like your job there that you had to do
voiceovers.
So it's like you
it
weren't
was-
really given an option in a sense.
It was my job to do the voiceovers. I
But
didn't.
did you get paid extra to do this
I
specific
wrote
one?
them. I wrote the voiceovers and did the voiceovers, but I did not know what this channel was playing on it until I walked through the control room and I said, "Oh my, what is that?" And they said, "That's the channel you're advertising for." And I went, "Oh," and so I had to take it off. I said, "I can't do this." And I went to the I can't remember what his name was, but anyway, he was head of that group, and I said, I can't do this. And they said, it's after 10 o'clock, so what difference does it make? And I went, oh no, everybody that has heard this, they recognize my voice, and I'm not. You can't do this.
And it was in heavy rotation too, boy.
Oh,
That
it
commercial was
was.
on.
I know,
And I would say,
How did you not know if you wrote the script?
I just wrote the script. You should have heard the script was extremely. It wasn't detailed or anything like that. It just talked about what time what
what time it started?
time it started, what time it started.
What was it called? After Dark or whatever it was.
But, yeah, how did you not know
Warner
that?
After Dark. Or
What goes on after dark, Cindy?
I did not know it was porn. I didn't know it was porn. I thought it was like
what,
you know,
naked game
cozy up-
shows?
No, like
or,
a romantic type
Sure,
of
something.
movies.
I mean,
and
some of
stuff
those
like that.
movies were romantic-ish.
Well,
When you got through the
so-
bad acting and got to
and they
what
had
goes
and they
on.
had adult games on there. There were games for
I
adults.
wasn't watching
And
games
when they
on
said
that channel.
when they said stuff like that, anyway, okay, I hadn't watched porn, okay, and so I didn't know.
Well, I'm
But I
kind of
saw it.
confused. Is something during that time when Time Warner was, the major cable company?
Right.
Was it a channel you had to purchase, or was it part of their package?
It's a pay-per-view.
Oh, it was a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
So you had to pay additional money, and they were being sold something by Cindy Cochran.
Yeah,
Yeah, she was peddling the porn.
peddling the
I mean,
porn
you got paid. Who cares?
channel.
Exactly.
They, what? I got what?
You got paid. Who cares?
That my salary, but I wasn't paid directly for that. But it got to be where it was so hard to live this down, and somebody at church told somebody at church, you
Wasn't
know
me,
whose
not it.
voice, you know whose voice that is? That's Cindy Cochran's voice. And trying to explain to those people and being called before the elders. No, but I did the same.
You need to come up front and
That's
let's
right.
talk about this.
You go forward and go, I'm so sorry I did that. But it was
That's what you need to do for your promo for the Cindy Cochran Show. Catch us at 2 o'clock.
catch us if you can. But it was just a weird time. But when I found out that we had porn on there on cable,
It's pay-per-view, though.
but it
right?
was pay-per-view.
The
But
way you are talking about it is like I could just go to channel whatever, and there you go. It's pay-per-view.
Well,
no,
like,
my ad was on the regular channels,
Yes.
telling people to go
Yeah.
buy pay-per-view. But this is the worst thing, is that whoever was back there, the engineer back there, unplugged it didn't flip the pay-per-view part on for that channel. So it was open. And what was it open to was the porn. I mean, that it was just porn.
adult content.
But what was supposed to be on that channel was the city council meeting. So everybody that went to that to look at the city
believe it.
council meeting is sitting there watching that, and I happened to go into.
Boy, I'd go to a lot of city council meetings that are like that.
But I went in, and the main, there was a monitor sitting in one of the offices, and I turned it on, and I went. And I ran into the control room. And I said, "Look what you've got on! Look what you've got on the city council!" And they were like, "Oh my gosh, trying to who did that? Who did that?" It was horrible. But you imagine? I just would have loved to have been sitting there watching, Fred and Ethel going, "What? Wait a minute! I don't recognize any of these people on this." And it was
It's
terrible.
over what I'm used to watching on the picture box there. Get my glasses. What them folks doing?
No,
We're
usually-
going to change the channel. No. Leave it just a moment.
Usually
there.
those city council things, but that would happen a lot because we had Warner, of course, and I had every channel I wanted to have.
That's why we came to your house. We didn't have HBO money. We had just regular cable money.
Yes, and it was amazing. And one time I had a meeting with my camera people and my guys, and so they're sitting in my office across the wall, and I've got my back to the TV, and they've got the control. Now on that TV, you could see the porn channel if you, but I wouldn't watch the porn channel. But no one watched it in my office except when I have meetings, and they would turn that on. There's no sound, but they turn the TV on. They turn it to that channel, and sit there and watch me talk to them about what we needed to do and what our schedule was going to be and all that. And this is going on behind me. It was horrible.
So,
but they paid attention.
Yeah, I have a confession. So when you would take us up there to watch the boxing in between rounds, and if you walked out of the room, me and Chad would turn it to the naughty channel.
Oh, you guys.
Go ahead and pinch me. I earned a pinch.
Wait like
You
wait
walk
like
out the
a
room,
Chad.
and one of us would watch the door. Hey, is your mom coming back? Oh, mom's coming back. Ding, ding, ding. Back to the boxing.
You guys, I'm so ashamed of y'all. Shame on you. I've got we've got 10 minutes left, and
You have 5 minutes left.
5 minutes left. I'm sorry. So
It went by so fast.
I know. See, it was just a conversation. And were you nervous coming in?
You raised us to be like this.
Yes, that's. Well, don't say that.
It's your fault. I have no fear of the microphone.
That's
or
exactly
any of
right.
this
No,
stuff.
no, I thought it was you. You know, I raised y'all to love sports and be sports minded and all that.
Sure,
But
I'll take that.
but being in front of a mic is good. That's good that you can be that way, and I love that you are not nervous and that you can come on and talk about this. Thank you, Jimmy, so much for coming on. Thank
I
you.
had a lot of fun.
Well, you can sit right there until it's over, but I've got to talk about what's going to happen tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, that's what I need to say. Tomorrow, Mindy Miller is going to be on. And Mindy Miller was one of Elvis Presley's last girlfriends. And she has a lot to talk about. And we'll ask her those questions and get a lot out of her. But she just gone to Elvis Week in Memphis, and they had a lot of fun. I mean, every week is so much fun, and they exchange stories, and they talk about all the things that happen. And she, I think, may have been the only girlfriend that was invited to the funeral. And so she has a lot of, not dirt to dish, because she does not dish dirt about Elvis. She talks about Elvis in the most, sweet, kind things, and it's great. And she loves the spirituality of Elvis. That he became very spiritual. He was reading the Bible a lot. He was in his later years, and so it's great. So she has a lot of stories to tell, and her view of that movie, Elvis movie, is not anything like I've heard before. So it's going to be fun to listen to her, and we will listen and very politely. But it's weird to know that she was Elvis's friend and his girlfriend. And I asked my sister, who was a huge Elvis fan, I said, okay, Carolyn, what question would you like me to ask her? This is going to be really exciting to have her on there. She said, just ask her, was he really a good kisser? And that was her only question.
Well, think about it. The girls back then all wanted to kiss him, so I guess that would be a curiosity.
Yeah, let's get so I asked Mindy. I said, Mindy, I know we've been talking about spiritual stuff and all that, but I just got to ask you this one question from my sister. She wanted to know, was he really a good kisser? And she went, oh, yes. It's just like she just melted at the answer and went like, okay, well, that's what everybody thought. So so anyway, we went on with life. But she's going to be on, and it's going to be a lot of fun to talk to her. She has done so many interviews. I was watching the...
I bet, especially since the movie, I bet she's just been
oh, my goodness. Everybody knows.
busy.
But she doesn't give the answers that you want. Okay, everybody, please be with us tomorrow at 2 o'clock. We will be here, and you guys take care. And remember, first responders, we love you. Okay. All right. Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you again.
Thank you. I had a blast.